Hi, everyone, and welcome to English 1102, English Composition 2. I'm David Weiss, and I'll be your instructor this semester. I can't tell you how sorry I am that this is the way we're conducting our first class. I really love the interaction, and as you'll learn about me, I am not a big fan of online learning in general, and especially asynchronous. I guess that's what this is, asynchronous instruction. And I have to tell you, this is my very first recording of an asynchronous class. So who knows, maybe I'll end up liking it. I doubt it. But in any case, unfortunately, I have had a family emergency. My wife is in the hospital with pancreatitis, which I'm sorry to say is very painful. And she is expected to come home on the Tuesday that is the day of our first class. So I certainly need to be there for that. So my apologies about this. But I'm really looking forward to meeting all of you on Thursday. And I hope this ends up being an okay way to introduce our first class. What I'll be doing in this class, our first class of the semester, is introducing the class and giving you a fairly brief overview of it. That'll be supplemented by the full syllabus that we'll talk about during our second class, and that is your assignment for the second class is to read the syllabus. So, in terms of introductions, first let me introduce myself. Hi, I'm David S. Weiss, as it says right there. You can refer to me as Professor Weiss or Dr. Weiss, whatever you're more comfortable with. I'm a PhD, so I guess technically I'm a doctor. Both are okay. I'll typically refer to myself as Professor Weiss in most of my communications with you, but you're welcome to refer to me however you're comfortable. By far, my preferred form of communication is email. My email is dwice@ggc.edu, and I strongly encourage you to email me at any time. Middle of the night, weekends, doesn't bother me. If I'm up, it's 3 in the morning, I'll respond to you. I think you'll find that I respond very quickly to emails. So that's a brief introduction of me. I'll describe more about me and my background in a moment. But let's talk about the class. So the purpose of this class is to improve your ability to read critically and write effectively. And I know everyone comes into this class with a different level of ability when it comes to writing or reading for that matter. And to me, the measure of your success and my success is if you leave this class as a better, more confident writer than when you entered it. Regardless of your level of writing ability, you'll do fine, and both you and I will have succeeded. That is my objective. I hope it is your objective as you approach this class, to show improvement in your writing ability. So that means even if you're a really good writer, I want to see improvement. But from everyone, that's what I'm looking for: is commitment to the class and improvement. So in this particular class, first, we would introduce each other. I'll introduce myself, give you some background on me, and then I'd go around the room and ask you to introduce yourself, each individually, giving first your name and the year you're in at GGC, what your major or potential area of study is if you haven't declared a major. And I'd like to ask a question, which is, do you prefer online or in-person instruction? Now, look, most of you would have been sitting there in class, so yes, I expect most of you to say in person. But online has a lot of advantages. I guess we're seeing one of those advantages right now, that unfortunately, when I can't be there for whatever reason, we can still have class. But I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute when I introduce myself and give you my preference between online and in person. So we talk about that. Then a fairly brief overview of the class. First, I'll introduce you to the syllabus, but we're going to talk about it much more during our second class on Thursday, and some logistics, some things about the class that you might consider important. For instance, grades. I know no one cares about grades, but I'll talk about them anyway. Then pretty much every class ends with, quote, homework, or what is your assignment for the next class. In this case, I will describe in detail your assignment for Thursday's class, which is to read the syllabus and post a question to a discussion board. I'll discuss that in further detail later. And I would always end the class with questions and answers. Although you're welcome to interrupt me, raise your hand and just interrupt me, or just shout out, "Hey, Professor Weiss," interrupt me with questions at any time. Now, I realize you can't do that. You're seeing a video of me, but I'm going to, I guess, really invite you and say I encourage you to email me if you have any questions. If you'd like to introduce yourself, which is what I'd like you to do, email me. And I guarantee you, even though I got stuff going on in my life, I will respond quickly to you. Your emails are extremely important to me. And that emphasizes one of the things about this class. I'm going to be talking about the importance of written communication. And that's not just essays for college, but is all forms of written communication, including emails, in many ways, especially emails. You'll find that I love emails and I respond to them very, very quickly. So please email me, especially if you have any questions that this first class brings up in your mind. Okay, so hi, once again, I'm David S. Weiss. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. As you might be able to tell, this is not an Atlanta accent or a Southern accent. I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York, though I have been down here in Atlanta for over 30 years, a little over 30 years now. And one thing that's unusual about me for an English professor is that I have 2 degrees undergrad. I got a degree in English, so I'm teaching English, and I got a degree in accounting. So that's really unusual for an English professor. Well, the accounting degree is what I actually did for most of my career. I used that. I became a CPA. If I were there in class, I'd ask if anyone knows what CPA stands for. And occasionally a business person does. It stands for Certified Public Accountant. And I ultimately became a CFO, or Chief Financial Officer, of a large public company. When I say public, you can invest in its stock. It's called Beazer Homes, a home builder that's based here in Atlanta. Yes, there's a picture of me on CNBC. And yes, I did have hair, not like now. At that point, that's a little over 20 years ago. So it looked a little bit younger. But one of my major themes is, as a former business person, I can absolutely tell you that your English skills are going to be really important to you no matter what you do. And I can talk about that from my own personal experience. In my business life, which worked out very well, I got to retire at a very early age in my 40s. Definitely my English skills were much more important than my accounting or finance skills. Like being on TV there, I was not using my accounting skills for that. I was using my English skills, the ability to present myself well, to be convincing. So we'll talk about that a number of times during class. So my background does support that. I was not an automatically English professor, although that's what I did ultimately want to become and was able to. And that actually leads me to my next step. So I retired from business, as I mentioned, in my 40s, and went on to pursue a PhD in English. There's me wearing a funny hat. That's what PhDs wear when they graduate. That's at the University of Birmingham, in Birmingham, England. And they have a Shakespeare Institute in Stratford-upon-Avon, which is where Shakespeare is from. And that's what I studied, Shakespeare, which is what I always wanted to do. So business was good. It worked out well. But what I really wanted to do was study English, study Shakespeare, and teach. So now I'm getting to do what I really want to do, being in front of you. Although I'm not in front of you, I'm standing here in my office. I'll be in front of you on Thursday, and I look forward to that. So that's my introduction to myself. Excuse me. I was going to ask you, when you introduce yourself, to say whether you prefer in-person or online instruction. Now, first, I guess let me say about myself. I definitely prefer in-person. Why? Well, I'm talking to a screen right now. I don't see any faces. I don't see any reactions. And even when I did online synchronous, which I did during COVID, most people had blank screens, or even if they did show their faces, it's tough to measure. I really think it's important to interact in order to learn, especially in order to learn something like English. And you should expect a lot of interaction in this class. So it's that interaction, getting to see your faces and getting to interact with you. That was why I really prefer in-person instruction to online instruction. Now, I know there are real benefits to online instruction. So if you would have answered, oh, I like online better, that's great. That's no problem. I'm interested to hear why. And there it is. I get to see your faces. Oh, and more interaction. So sometimes I don't even know what my slides are going to say. So this is where I would have invited you to each individually go around, introduce yourself, give your name, your major, your year, and whether you prefer online or in person. And I want you to think about this. And here's what I would have said to you if I were standing there in front of you. You guys are the first generation to start online, have online available to you during middle school, and then go through high school where online was entirely an option. Man, other generations have not had that. Is that a benefit? Is that a disadvantage? How do you feel about that? I'm really, really interested in that. And I think that feeds into, do you personally prefer online or in-person instruction? Now, as I said, you've chosen to be in class, so there's a good chance many of you prefer in-person. But maybe it's specific to English. Maybe for other classes you like online. I've heard a lot about that. I'm really interested in this. And that's the sort of thing we'll be studying during this class. Things that I'm curious about, that they don't have definitive right or wrong answers. There is no right or wrong answer to this one. So maybe we will get a chance to discuss that during our second class or later during the semester. So this is what we would have done had we been sitting there in class. So then it's back to me. I talk. You guys would have talked for, probably 15, 20 minutes. So we get to pare that back, cut it out. So this class, the format of it is lecture or discussion, meaning we'll be live in front of each other on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Now, technically, attendance is not, quote, required. So it is not required, but engagement counts as 20% of your grade in the class. So how does that work? If I'm not saying you don't actually need to be here, but I'm counting your engagement in the class. Well, there are a lot of different ways to measure engagement and for you to demonstrate your engagement in the class. And you'll see a lot of this when you get the syllabus. This is sort of an overview of it. So here are ways to demonstrate your engagement in the class. One, yes, is to attend class and participate in discussions. That certainly doesn't hurt, and it is a good idea to do that as much as you can. If you cannot attend class, that's okay. What I ask is that you demonstrate your engagement by emailing me at least an hour ahead of class time when you're not going to be in class, or if you're going to be more than 10 minutes late. Now, part of this is a college thing. It's engagement. It's like participation. It's showing that you're doing that. But part of this is also a business, real life thing. If you're not going to be there, tell someone. If you're going to be 10 minutes late, tell them. If they know what to expect, you get a real advantage from having told them. That's one of those things that I think is a real life benefit of writing and how writing can help you. That can help you in real life, that helped me in real life in the business world. So that's one way to demonstrate engagement. And when you're there in class, demonstrate your active engagement, perhaps participating in discussions. I don't demand that, but certainly I love that. But do more than just showing up. Pay attention. Demonstrate that you're listening. Nod your head. You're allowed to have your phones and your computers in class. You're all adults. I trust you. But don't be on doing other things, especially things that might distract the people sitting next to you or might distract me if it's obvious you're doing something else. So demonstrate your active engagement during class by at least paying attention, if not participating in class discussions. So that's one way to demonstrate engagement. Completing assignments as directed on D2L, my courses. So pretty much for every class, there will be an assignment that is due at the beginning of class. Fully complete that assignment based on the instructions. Every single assignment will have detailed instructions in D2L and will be described in the class preceding the class when it's due. So pay attention to those directions. and complete the assignments on time. Most assignments are due at 9 a.m. on the day of class. So that's another way to demonstrate engagement. Read and respond to emails. I'll email you. I promise you, every single one of you will get emails from me. So you already have gotten emails from me before the semester even started. Respond to emails. Acknowledge them, especially if they ask for a response. Send emails. If you have a question, send me an email. Like I said, you're welcome to send it middle of the night, 3 a.m. on a Saturday night. Doesn't bother me. I may not look at it on 3 a.m. on a Saturday night. Then again, maybe I will. Who knows? Maybe I'm up. So send emails. That's another way to demonstrate engagement. Post to discussion boards. A lot of assignments in this class involve you posting to a discussion and sometimes responding to some other students' posts. So do make sure you do that and maybe do a little bit above what is required of you. That's a great way to demonstrate engagement. When you post to a discussion board, if it's following up on a reading, I've asked you, what did you think about this reading? What stood out? What was funny? What do you disagree with? I'll frequently ask a number of open-ended questions. Demonstrate your own critical thought and your critical reading of the materials. Don't just say, oh, I liked it, I agree with it. That doesn't say anything. I have no idea if you read it. So do something that demonstrates that you actually read the reading when you post the discussion board and you've given some critical thought to whatever's being asked for. Pay attention to feedback. I promise you, I will give you feedback on every single assignment you do in this class, especially the essays that are due. Every single one of you will get detailed feedback. Pay attention to it. If I tell you, you have a lot of run-on sentences, think about that the next time you write. If I keep telling you that and you keep having run-on sentences, it doesn't look like you're paying attention to my feedback. So pay attention to the feedback, read my feedback, and try to take it into account. Or ask me about it if you disagree with my feedback. You're welcome to disagree with my feedback. In fact, you're welcome to disagree with me about anything in this class, including your grade. I encourage you to do that. You'll see that in the syllabus. Maybe that'll surprise you. Engagement, like I said, is 20% of your grade, and there are lots of details on engagement in the syllabus. So as I said, your assignment for the next class is going to be to read the syllabus. That's a particular section of the syllabus that I strongly encourage you to pay attention to, the section on engagement. So now let's talk about the syllabus and some logistics, the sorts of things that I think you guys sometimes are concerned about. What is the theme of this class? Does this class have a theme? It does. It's a rather informal one and a very broad one. Why do we write? Why bother to write? And now that writing is changing, you'll see we're going to talk about AI, artificial intelligence, a lot in this class. Does that change? Does writing still matter? Did it still matter before AI in the age of emails and texts and videos, YouTube, social media? And now in AI, does writing matter the way it did previously? I don't know the answer to that, but it's among the things that we're going to be discussing. I'll disclose a little bit about my own personal. I think writing still matters. I think writing is critically important. I think writing will always be critically important. Hey, disagree with me. That's no problem. So anyway, but the theme of this class is, why do we write? Why do you write? You'll see on D2L, in fact, let me pull up, hoping you are going to see this. This is the D2L site for the class. Yeah, there's me. Some of you might not have seen it, but I sent a link to a video that I did. If you go to content, you'll see what happens to be on class slides right now, but let's go to the table of contents. You'll see that it's organized the way the class is going to be organized. And a lot of the materials are already there. Let me go back to this slide. D2L content is organized pretty much the way the class is organized. First, there's just a module on general organization of the class. That'll have things like the slides. I will always post the slides from the class. The slides from this class are available on D2L under organization. Then there's a section on Purdue OWL, or Purdue Online Writing Lab. Maybe many of you have used that in high school or outside of school. That's going to be our principal resource for grammar and for style and for MLA format. So that's effectively our textbook, and is available for free online to you, to your mom, to your brother and sister, to your friends, to anyone. So you don't need to buy a textbook. Isn't that cool? In fact, you don't need to buy any books for this class. There are a few ones that I recommend you might want to get sort of for extra, but you actually don't have to buy any books for this class. And the Purdue OWL, or Purdue Online Writing Lab, is our principal resource for grammar. Then there's a section of the class called Why I Write, and that's the title of two essays, one by Joan Didion, a late 20th century author and columnist, and another by George Orwell. Didion's is sort of a reactions to Orwell. If I were standing there in class in front of you, I would ask, can any of you tell me something written by George Orwell? Let's give that a minute. Can anyone identify something written by George Orwell? I hope some of you said 1984. Perhaps some of you said Animal Farm. So those are what he's most known for. But he wrote a lot of things, especially essays. And his essay, Why I Write, is a great one. And Joan Didion had a similarly great essay that was a reaction to that. We'll be reading those, and you're going to give your own essay, Why I Write. That's going to be the first really significant assignment in the class. Then there's a section on the play Hamilton. I think Hamilton is great. I think it is genuinely one of the greatest pieces of literature of the 21st century. But it's a play, and it's a musical play. We'll talk about how do you read a play, something that's a performance, and various ways of doing that. And I find that a lot of students really enjoy that. I really enjoy it. It's very participatory. We get to watch parts of it in class. We'll even have a bit of a watch party at night, completely optional, where we can watch together over 2 nights the play Hamilton. So there's a section of class on Hamilton. It's actually Hamilton, an American Musical, is the full title. Then there's a section of class on AI and ChatGPT. I'm going to speak in a moment in greater detail on how AI is going to be treated in this class. Punchline is you're allowed to use it. But hey, this is, I think, the biggest innovation in writing, the biggest change in writing, probably since the caveman. Certainly since the printing press. It changes writing, and I think it'd be crazy to ignore it. So we're going to explicitly study AI and ChatGPT and talk about that, and talk about how they impact writing and how they impact education. So there are sections of class on Why I Write. There'll be an essay about that. Hamilton, there'll be an essay about that. AI and ChatGPT, there's an essay about that. That's an argumentative essay. And then there's a big final project that counts as 40% of your grade for the class. And that's a very open-ended project where you talk about almost anything related to writing, though you have to relate something to the materials that we've studied during class. There's a lot more detail on all these in the syllabus, and of course, as the semester progresses, we'll be talking a lot more about it. So grading, as I said earlier, I know no one cares about grading, but I'll talk about it anyway. So 20% of your grade is based on engagement, all those things I talked about earlier, being in class or emailing me, responding to discussion boards, sending emails, paying attention in class. So that's 20% of your grade, and you'll actually get an engagement grade after every single class. If you take a look at, when you take a look at the syllabus, you'll see I talk about some of my criteria for those grades. So that's 20% of your grade. 40% of your grade are what I call the shorter essays in that class. That's the essays on Why I Write, Hamilton, and AI or ChatGPT. So together, those count for 40% of your grade, and the final project itself counts for 40%. Each of those is broken down into smaller components, like the final project. You've got a proposal, you've got an initial draft. So those will be part of the 40% grade. But overall, that's how the grading is in the class. As I mentioned, there are essays on why I write, Hamilton, AR, ChatGPT, and then the final project. And actually, the final project doesn't need to be an essay. It can be a more creative project. It can be a podcast. It could be a video. I've had students do artwork in class. We'll talk as the class progresses about how you would do that. I always end classes, well, I end with Q&A. Everyone's always welcome to ask questions at the end or at any time. But I'll always end with what is the assignment for the next class and invite questions about that. So your assignment for this Thursday's class, which I certainly hope is in person. If it's not in person, something unfortunately has gone wrong in my personal life. Your assignment is to read the syllabus and the AI policy, the policy on artificial intelligence thoroughly. As I said, you're allowed to use AI, including ChatGPT in this class. Wow, how the hell does that work? Well, read the AI policy and you'll find out. There are ways to use it that I think are good and constructive and ways that aren't. Now let me, and there's one other thing. In addition to the syllabus and AI policy, you might want to take a look at, there's a detailed schedule, class by class and week by week of what we'll be doing. So if you want to see what's coming up, you can see that. Now the syllabus, rather unfortunately, they have changed the format of the syllabus this year. So there's a fair amount there that you have to sort of go through that will be the same for all your classes. There are sections of this that are specific to this class that are written by me and that'll be different. In fact, let's do that. Let's go to D2L and go to activities, assignments. You'll see there the first assignment, read syllabus and AI policy. And in it, I described the assignment. So this is what I'm doing for you now. Under, when I say read the syllabus, I say pay particular attention to the sections on communication, technology information, course grading, and course expectations. Those are all sections of the syllabus that are very specific to this class. You won't find another class here at GGC or anywhere, I guess, that have those exact sections because I wrote them and they're different, especially the ones, say, on technology and AI, and that ties into the policy on AI. You can see there. My own policy on artificial intelligence. Anyway, so I know much of the syllabus will look like, hey, this is the same as every other class, but pay attention to the sections that aren't. After you read the syllabus, post to the discussion forum on D2L about the syllabus, and what I'd like you to do is ask a question, any question about it, something that seems puzzling, something that requires a little further clarification, or if someone else has asked a question and you think you know the answer to that based on your reading the syllabus, or maybe just because you know me, maybe you took me for English 1101, you can answer their question. Either one counts as this assignment. So your assignment for Thursday, read the syllabus and AI policy thoroughly and post a question about the syllabus or the AI policy to the discussion forum on D2L. If you have any questions about this, please email me. As with most assignments, this counts toward your engagement grade for Thursday. So Thursday, if you show up for class on time, look like you're paying attention and have done this assignment, that's 100 for that day. If you don't do this assignment and show up, that's going to be partial credit, say 65 or 75 for that day. So doing the assignment is important for your engagement grade. There are always details in D2L on every single assignment. So I highly recommend you read the assignment before doing it. And for Thursday, for this coming Thursday, please bring your computer to class. We're going to have a brief writing exercise in class. Don't get nervous. This is going to be really easy, called What I'm Thinking. It's going to be your easiest grade, your easiest assignment ever. But please do bring your computer to class or something that you can write with. So this is the point in class where I would open it up and say, does anyone have any questions, any discussion about what we've had, questions about this assignment, or about anything we've covered today? I implore you, I plead with you, please email me if after watching this you have questions. I promise you I will answer them. Interacting through email is a really important part of this class, and especially now, again, with my apologies that I'm not there. I'm really sorry I'm not getting to meet you on the first day of class. But I really do want to meet you. And if I interact with you through email, that's a lot like meeting you. So feel free, introduce yourself, say something about or don't, just ask a question. A number of people have already responded to my welcome email, and I really appreciate it. And they saw I responded typically within minutes. That's what I'll do for you. So I hope you got something out of this video. I'll try to edit it down so it's not as long as it might have been. I hope it's worthwhile watching the whole thing. But I really prefer being there in front of you in person. I very much look forward to meeting you on Thursday. So email me with questions, do the assignment Thursday, and I will see you on Thursday. Bye.